Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia to our program Roundtable Africa. Roundtable Africa is always hosted here at Focus on Liberia with Sekou Keller, your host. And as always, Mr. Edward Amara as your co-host of this program. Welcome to the broadcast. In today's edition of Roundtable Africa, we have a guest who has joined us today in this edition of Roundtable Africa. But before we can introduce our guest, let me remind you the topic that we are discussing today is thickness penetrate in Africa, causes and impacts. Sekou is here, Edward is here, and this is the topic that we have here to discuss. And because of the significance of the topic, we did some research and we have some statistics for you concerning this. I want to call it epidemic, if you like, in Africa. I will now welcome Mr. Edward Amara, who will welcome our guest to today's edition of Roundtable Africa. Edward? Mr. Edward Amara seems to be. Are you here, Edward? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I feel elated this afternoon to join this all-important program. We all know teenage pregnancy is a kind of thing that is globally looked at, and it's affecting each and every country in the world, irrespective of where you are. So I want to welcome the general populace to fully listen to the solutions, whatsoever thing we're going to discuss. At the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting. And I'm also very happy to see a young lady, vibrant, who has also been part and parcel of it for this issue quite a long time. So thank you and I welcome everybody.
Thank you so very much, Edward. I was saying you should welcome our guest and introduce her.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is Elizabeth Yimasa. She's a very young woman, it's Iranian, who is a degree holder. She's just a new graduate. Welcome. And she actually been an advocate for women affairs in Sudan for quite a long time. And whatsoever institution, like she has worked for a lot of other institutions, especially institutions providing our free quality education for girls, and at the same time, those that seek the rights of individuals. She's a young person. She's just, as I said, she's just a new graduate, and currently. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Edward. At this time, I want to join my partner Edward Amara in welcoming Elizabeth to this program, Roundtable Africa, to discuss the topic teen pregnancy in Africa, causes and impact. Elizabeth, welcome. We are happy to have you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you so much, host Anthony. I'm happy to be a part of the program because we all know, and as Edward rightly says, teenage pregnancy is one key issues we are having with regard to women and girls' health. So I'm happy to be a part of the roundtable discussion this evening. Thank you so much.
And we are happy to have you. We have Mr. Sekou Keller, who is the host of this program, Roundtable Africa. Sekou, this topic, I'm looking forward to it. Welcome, another edition. How you doing?
Yeah, thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you always. Thanks to our viewers. I just want to welcome Sister Elizabeth Kane and my co-host Edward Amara. This topic is important because this is a social issue, and we are trying to build a better society. So we look at some of the challenges we have, and we know teenage pregnancy is something that is challenging our society, and we have to address it. And I'm happy we have a sister in our midst who will also, give us another perspective or better perspective on the issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Keller. Well, before we start discussing the topic, folks, we have some statistics concerning teenage pregnancy in the world, and but our emphasis will be on Africa that we want to share with you, and we will start the discussion. Approximately 20 million girls aged 15 to 19 years and at least 777,000 girls under 15 years give birth each year in developing countries. These are like babies or children giving birth to another babies. Now, another statistic, at least 10 million unintended pregnancy occur each year among adolescent girls aged 15 to 19 years in the developing world. Also, complication during pregnancy and childbirth are the leading cause of death from 15, for 15 and 19-year-old girls globally. That is profound. Also, it is estimated that about 5.6 million abortions occur each year among adolescent girls aged 15 and 19 years old. 3.9 million are unsafe, contributing to maternal mortality, morbidity, and lasting health problems. Again, these are the statistics. These statistics are alarming when it comes to teenage pregnancy in Africa and also around the world. Sekou, you just listening to the statistic there before we get started. Why are we hearing this?
Yes, definitely. If you look at the statistics, when it's in developing countries, it's just my way of saying poor countries. That's another word for poor countries. And, most African countries fall in that category. So this is important because as we continue to say we're trying to build a better society, youth are the leaders of tomorrow, all these beautiful phrases are all over the place. But the reality on the ground is that we are producing babies are producing babies, and we are causing a huge social problem. It's not healthy, it's not healthy for the society itself and then also for our women. And this issue is very serious and it has to be looked at holistically, or otherwise we will continue deceiving ourselves that we are building a better society while in fact we are producing children that have no future, because those who are producing the children are themselves children.
That is true. That is true. And that is true that children are born in children, and that is a serious problem. So that brings us to our topic, teenage pregnancy in Africa, the causes and impacts. Our guest today is Elizabeth Mensah Kane. Madam Kane, let's get started here. You have been following this issue of teenage pregnancy and many women issues in Africa. You are based in Sierra Leone there. Talk to us. When we say teenage pregnancy, what are we talking about here?
Okay, thank you so much. In the first place, when we talk about a teenager is somebody or a girl below the age of 20. An adolescent girl below the age of 20. And any girl or any female getting pregnant below that age is considered a teenager. And being a teenager, getting pregnant in an African society like ours, the implications are too much. Because sometimes a baby carrying a baby, the experience of that, the reproductive sexual health risks are very, very high. Some of these children give birth to children, they end up getting deformed because they are not of the right age to have babies on their own. So a teenage girl below the age of 20 getting pregnant may not have the awareness of how to handle it, the emotional and psychological stress that pregnancy brings, how to take care of themselves, how to keep themselves safe and the baby. So it's a thing of like Shiko was saying, it's a thing of social concern. It's a global issue that needs to be addressed with utmost urgency.
And Elizabeth, thank you for that beautiful answer. What we also know is this belief that when a female is of age 18, that person is mature enough to even get married. Some people believe that. Looking at that, how now can we then say it is a problem for somebody at that age to have a child? What do you say to people that try to make that argument?
Okay, fine. What I'll tell viewers out there is that in the first place, the adolescent age is split into two. We have
Mhm.
two categories of adolescents. We have the very adolescent girls ranging from 10 to years, and we
Mhm.
have the older adolescent girls who are ranging from 15 to 18 years. And in an in our context, it is that when you're 18, you are an adult. But come to look at it, or come to look at things. In Africa, how many 18 years old girls or boys are actually matured enough to take up their own responsibilities, to feed themselves, clothe themselves, or if they are sick, to seek a better medical facility and all of it? It's so. If we are to rate it, not rate up to 15%. It will not rate up to 15%. So me to me, you being an adult at age 18, I still count them to be teenagers because of the way they behave, the way they think. But maturity is not that.
Thank you. Thank you
You
so
see
very much.
girls of 18 looking as old as I am.
All right, thank you. And Edward, I think she's making a solid point there. Some people may make the argument that one, when one is at age 18, that person may be considered an adult, but she's making the case that, I mean, this 18-year, or especially in Africa, and also in most countries as well, somebody who is age 18 may not necessarily be independent enough to take care of themselves. More so before talking about a child, they may be bringing forth. And in Africa, most 18 years old are not even employed. Even 35 years old are struggling for employment. I think she has a point there. What do you make of that, Edward?
Thank you very much. I think we normally see this like Sierra Leone and other African countries. Yeah, okay. In places like Sierra Leone and other African countries, real life begin at the age of 14. I mean,
Wow.
when a man real life begin at the age of 14, because it's very unfortunate, but we have to confess this truth. You may realize that people are even leaving from colleges and universities without employment. And we are talking about a society that is engulfed with poverty. Wheresoever you see, you feel and sense the poverty. So, as she's rightly said, the age of consent in Sierra Leone and most African countries is 18. But how many 18 years old children are capable of feeding themselves? Because when they're talking about getting pregnant, it becomes responsibility. Somebody cannot just get impregnated, or a person cannot impregnate a woman who is also not responsible enough to take charge of that responsibility. So an adolescent stage is the worst stage that anybody can come across, because it's a challenging stage. It's a stage that develops from adulthood, from childhood to adulthood. And trying to understand this thing, they need a lot of psychological problems that are involved. They need special discipline. And most of these parents, as Sheikh rightly said, if a baby gives birth to a baby, how do you expect them to nurse that particular child up? So we are watching at the social responsibility that are conferred around a child. If you give birth to a child at the age of 18, you are not you are not employed, and your parent also does not have the facility to even cater for you. Then watch at it. 18 years old is actually the legal age in Sierra Leone and most African countries. And we believe that 18 is somebody from the age of 12 to 19 in some countries. Some countries they take it 14 to 19, some countries they take it 15 to 19, as long as they are 20. But unfortunately, as you rightly stated, teenagers or even people who are older than a teenager are not responsible and cannot fully be cater for themselves. So if somebody becomes pregnant at the age of 18, even above 20, it always create a problem. So that is what we are watching at. We're watching at the social responsibility attached to being impregnated. And if that person who impregnates you can be able to take care of your responsibility, of your social responsibilities.
And Seku, that brings me to this question of the causes, the major causes of teenage pregnancy in Africa. And if you wish to chime in on that question, they argument that, 18 years and an adult, so it is acceptable for them to have a child. You can chime on it. But I want you to also talk about the causes of teenage pregnancy in Africa.
Right. Thank you very much. But the first question, I agree with Sister Elizabeth. When they say 18 years, the age of responsibility, I think they are talking about intellectual capacity.
Mm-hmm.
When someone is 18 years, we know their intellectual capacity, they have evolved, they can make certain decisions. But we are not talking about physiology, we're not talking about social responsibility. There's a lot of things there that are in a bracket that you are not looking at. Because when a girl at the age of 13, 14, 15 goes give birth, we know the health implication. Okay, she may have the intellectual capacity, yes, to make some decision, but the health implication that are attached to it, we have to look at it. So that age 18 is just something they are saying that we need to look at. I think politicians use that number a lot because of votes and what have you, but those in the social field, those in the health field, have to tell them that the age 18 does not apply in certain issue in our field. So these are things that need to be made very clear. Now, to the second question, the causes. As far as Africa is concerned, the primary cause of the teenage pregnancy is poverty. The first, I would say poverty. Why poverty? Because we look at our society where young girls become breadwinners of the family. Parents cannot afford to take care of their own children, and the young children have to become breadwinners of the family. There's lack of opportunity in the society. So it's easy for them to give themselves up to any kind of way of life just to gain bread. So poverty is an underlying issue there. The second thing is education. So by education here, I mean social responsibility. Why we have to teach the girl to understand the implication of being pregnant as a teenager. The boys or the men have to also have to understand the implication of impregnating a teenager. Because most of the time in our society, we press on the girls. You don't have to be pregnant, you don't have to be pregnant. But we don't tell the boys anything because it's not the girl don't get themselves pregnant. So most of the time, the girls take the way. So the education have to be both ways. The boys have to be educated to understand the implication of impregnating the young girl, and the girl have to understand the implication of getting pregnant. And the social responsibility there, because usually when the girls have these babies, the boys have nothing to pay. There's no child support. They are not held responsible for anything. The girls alone take the child and they drop out of school. So when we get to a point where when you pregnant a girl, you too have to lose your education, you have to go work and support the baby. There should be child support attached. Then the men will now begin to have caution because they'll start thinking the implication of impregnating a girl. But if there is no consequences for the men, then it will continue because we keep talking to the girls and the girls are not getting themselves pregnant. The men are doing it. So the education have to be both ways. So the other issue is culture. The culture of saying that girls should just produce babies. That's the reason why we have them. Yes, we have to procreate, but we have to look at the age. That's not the primary reason of life. We don't just have children have to get married very quickly. I grew up in a Muslim family. I'm born, my entire family Muslim. We had the understanding, the traditional understanding then was that the first, when the girl sees her period the first time, from that date onward, the father have to be quick to give her up for marriage, because if she gets pregnant without marriage or premarital pregnancy or sex, he's going to have sinned against God. So for that reason, he wants to give the girl out quickly to get married. So these traditions have to be challenged. Our traditions have to be challenged. Religious views have to be challenged. Girls should go at least 20, 25. Let them complete their education. Let them have that responsibility until they themselves can choose. We should not be imposing on them. So poverty, education, culture, these are some of the causes of this.
Thank you so very much, Sekou. Let me come to you, Elizabeth. You're listening to Sekou talking about the major causes of teen pregnancy in Africa. He talked about poverty as being one of the major factors. He talked about also education. And and talking about education, he's not only talking about going to the classroom, the understanding of your responsibility as a teenager when you impregnate a girl, for the boys, he said, and also for the girls too. So I want to hear from you. You are a woman. How do you look at this, looking at these major causes of teen pregnancy in Africa?
Thank you very much. I must commend Sheko for these wonderful points he has brought forward. And looking at poverty as one major underlying causes of teenage pregnancy, I think I buy his idea 100%. Because in an African context, when you consider our backgrounds, sometimes some families, okay, fine, he mentioned education, he mentioned social responsibilities, the culture and tradition as well. I think I gathered all of that from his point. But poverty is one key cause of teenage pregnancy because some families, because they lack, because there is this lack, there is nothing to feed, even the basic feeding they cannot afford for themselves and the children. And maybe some families are having more than how many girls? So what they do is pushing the girls on men so that they'll go out, either they hawk or they go as commercial sex workers or just some kind of it as a means of providing for the family. You see girls as young or as small, you see adolescent girls as small as 10 years. If you go out to the club at night, then you actually know we are heading for doom because of the rate at which girls are parading and moving around men at their ages. Some are not doing it to get our sexual pleasure. They are doing it to feed their families back. And the religion.
And Elizabeth, I know you will continue here. What are parents saying in all this, looking at the economic push here? Some of the girls, like you are saying, are doing this not for any sexual pleasure, but because they have to survive. What are parents saying about this?
Well, I'll say 75% of parents are in it. So they actually are not seeing anything bad with it. But for those who know the aftermath, the after effect of it, I think it's a thing that we should get our parents engaged and get them educated. That educating the girl child is like educating a whole nation. Because they lack the awareness, because they don't know what it means to get your girl child educated, to get them through the basic schooling, to get them to a peak where they'll be provide.
No, I was just about to ask you, you think the culture and the tradition play a role in parents understanding or for which they allow, for their girls and even their boys to go about engaging into sexual activity at a very early age?
Yes. The culture and tradition, like in Sierra Leone here, the community, there are children and communities in Sierra Leone, even up to this date, in this 21st century, the moment the guide has started having breast, or the moment you start menstruating, even if it is at the age of 10, it is at the age of 9, because some girls are having rapid growth. Some girls grow faster than their ages. So what they'll do is to get you initiated, culture and tradition, to get you initiated into the secret society. And the moment you're out from there, in the first place from there, they'll teach you how to be a woman, how a mother, how a wife. Imagine teaching a girl how to become a mother, teaching a girl how to become a wife, how to cope with issues of marriage. Imagine how horrible, how terrible these traditions are. You know, it's heartrending. Some communities you go to see a girl up to JS3 level, JS1 level is very, very difficult because of the moment the secret society from the is to give your hand in marriage.
Wow. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Again, folks, you are watching Roundtable Africa, hosted here by Sekou Keller and Mr. Edward Amara. I'm Anthony CA, being part of the discussion here, moderating. The guest for today's edition of Roundtable Africa is Elizabeth Mensah-Kana, who joined us from all the way Freetown, Sierra Leone. Edward, we are talking about the causes of teen pregnancy. Can you weigh in? What are the major causes that are allowing this to continue in the African society?
Oh, thank you very much. I just carefully listened to both of their submissions. And if I want to put it into 3 words, it's poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance. Having said that, let's look at case of the African scenario, because our African continent is the most affected one, and mankind are seriously people are poor, and people are absolutely ignorant about what is going on. Let's in Africa on a rampant. We all know it is on the increase, but even our tradition towards our tradition and culture. It is popularly known in certain homes you cannot even discuss sex with your child. They consider it to be a taboo. And these children learn by doing. And when they learn by what they see others, they definitely copy it. If I want to rate it with poverty, you come to most African countries, you view a home where the father only has a room. And the kids are lying down on the floor while he and the mother sleep. In the situation that there is anything going on in terms of romantic affairs, the children may pretend as if they are sleeping, but they're definitely watching you. Afterwards, they can put it into practice. No wonder if you get to schools, you may be in doubt to see a girl at the age of 7 to 8 practicing sex. And it is definitely coming from the home. You relate that to poverty. Because if you have a home, we have to give your children rooms, people don't see you doing what they shouldn't see. But when children set eyes on certain things at the age that they are willing to learn, you need to be very careful. Even our traditional, we all know that we belong to our culture. Any society or people without culture, they are definitely lost people. But let me tell you one thing. When we know we have learned this thing in formal institutions, if you get into this cultural institution, they tell you that you are an adult, you are a man. When you get out there, you behave like a man. So let's assume that the teen attend this particular cultural societies, and after that teen graduate, they come out. They are coming out with the belief that they are not matured. They are coming out with the belief that you no longer have the right to reprimand them. And they are coming out to believe that you have to behave like adults because you are going to teach them adulthood. So the cultural taboo into our home that nobody should discuss sex is another greatest thing. I think sex should be something that parents need to sit among themselves and discuss. But as long as the parents, we are just becoming too moral with certain issues. And we believe that we are too religious, we cannot touch certain things. But mind you, when a kid, especially somebody at the age of 10 to 15 or even below that, they learn fast. And they mimic us, they copy whatsoever thing that we are doing. So as I rightly said that example, if you get to certain schools, you may set eyes on a child who is 7 or 8 practicing sex into that particular school. It is because when you found out that home is very poor, they only have a room to dwell in. and the parents will be sleeping on the bed while the children are on the floor, they might be able to foresee what is going on into that particular home. And any attempt, they will definitely start to practice it. Another thing is ignorance. Most parents think that the children are like a working tool. They also should contribute towards the family. That is fantastic. It's very good, granted that they have reached to the age. But we are seeing on numerous occasions, parents discharge their children out on street to sell. It may relate it to poverty, but you also realize that you are sending a girl who is just like an apple. And we know there are certain people who are sexually indisciplined. They cannot control their sexual urge. And each time they look at these young girls as prey. And when they see them into a vicinity that is no longer secure, they do whatsoever thing, even our moral aspect. We should understand ourselves like Africans. And we should stop copying the culture of others. Even the way some people will definitely tell you that the way of dressing is no excuse for you to rape a woman or for you to impregnate a girl. That is very fantastic. But mind you, I'm not saying it is an excuse. But most of the time, when these girls dress, they expose themselves out, especially their sexually attractive area. And men who, because if a girl is not decently dressed, when they set eyes on you, because normally they said the way you dress is so how you feel. And the way you feel will tell others that this is a group that you belong to. And it can even affect how you are treated. So if a girl who dresses flexibly like any commercial sex worker, just because she believes that she has the moral obligation on her own to do whatsoever thing, you can easily expect men to approach her into a vicinity and they may even try to touch her, romance her, whatsoever. So obviously, I think we need to do a cultural renaissance. Try to revoke some of our cultural practices, effect certain changes, and reinstall moral. And we should stop still being too religious. Most of the religious aspect of us trying to attack, say when an issue is sensitive, attack it. Tell the child the negative and positive effect of sex. And this also needs to be discussed in schools. We hardly see certain schools carry on sexual education because you need to discuss it in details, and parents tend to shy against this idea. So as I've said, to summarize it, poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance are the greatest causes of pregnancy in Africa.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Edward Amara, co-host of Roundtable Africa. We will be taking a short break here, but before we do, let me share with you, we will be coming back to look at who should be blamed for the rising number of teenage pregnancy in our society. Now, let's look at, should it be the government or bad governance? Is it our culture or tradition? Is it poor parenting? The teen themselves, Western culture. We want to look at all these and see what is responsible for this teenage pregnancy in Africa. We will look at all these factors that have been named. We will take a short break and we will be right back to look into those causes.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Anthony Sie with the host and co-host of Roundtable Africa. Our guest today is Elizabeth Mensah Connor. She joined us from Freetown, Sierra Leone, and we are discussing the topic teenage pregnancy in Africa, causes and impact. Now, let's come to who should be blamed for the rising number of teenage pregnancies in our society. And to discuss that, we are saying, can we blame the government? Can we blame our culture or tradition? Can we blame it on poor parenting, the teen themselves, Western culture, or all of the above? And we will start with Elizabeth. Elizabeth, so who can be blamed?
Hello.
Yes, who can we blame for this teenage pregnancy in Africa? And I was asking, can we blame the
Okay,
government? Can
thank
we blame
you.
it on tradition? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anthony. I'll start with parenting. I definitely start with poor parenting. And with poor parenting, I must say, like Edward was saying, there are some parents who think to discuss sex in the home is a taboo. And if discussing sex in the home is a taboo, then sometimes the thing you fear that the children should not learn from the home, they go all out to learn it outside. And learning it outside, they may get the wrong teacher in teaching them what they want to know. We have some homes, or we have many homes in Africa, in Sierra Leone to be specific, West Africa, Sierra Leone to be specific. We have many homes, even when a girl has reached the stage of maturity, when they start seeing their period at first, mostly they find friends to confide in. Why? Because they think it's a taboo to say it home. They've never had the leverage to speak freely with either the mother, the father, and even sometimes the elder sisters. So I consider poor parenting to be one of the causes, because tell people what is right of them, what is expected of them, how to go about life in all of it. We are having smart kids of today. If you should tell me, don't allow a man to lie with you, when a man lie with you, or when you go to bed with a man, you get pregnant, it is possible. I'll go find a boyfriend who will not allow me to lie down. It's possible. It's possible. And a pregnancy, as far as sexual intercourse has taken place, and the girl is not in her safe period, you are bound to get pregnant, no matter your age, once you matured. So if my mom or my sister has been telling me not to allow a man to lie with me, and I have that who probably will get me seated to get intercourse with me, boyfriend, who you know, and get intercourse with me, it is possible I'll get pregnant, because I have not gotten the education that I am not of age to get sex. If I get sex, no matter the position, no matter how I do it, I'll get pregnant. So I
Thank
can't
you.
poor parenting to be one key factor of teenage pregnancy.
Thank you so very much. Edward, we're talking about why we can blame, or why the factors responsible. Culture, tradition. She just spoke on poor parenting. Is our culture or tradition in any way, Western culture in any way, the teens themselves? Uh, what do you think, Edward? Edward, it seems to be you
Yeah,
are frozen. Okay, go ahead.
thank you.
Mhm.
What should I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think she spoke about good. Let me say, I want to attack the culture and tradition. I think one of the main reason why teenage pregnancy is on the increase on the African continent is because of of our culture and tradition. We all know that we have a culture and tradition that we should maintain, but we should also understand that our society is developing, is advancing on a daily basis, and changes are taking place. And we have generational mentality. Prior to these days, we used to see our culture and tradition used to be held into high esteem, and because the population was not as big as the way it is today, we have people, they have the ability to control people, and those who we are even doing evil, we are just limited, so that those that are good, we are somehow limited in terms of they we are abundant in number, and they do not have the access to spread false news, or even like the way we have social media today, you can easily spread a lot of pornographic pictures where children may see and learn these things. When you watch our culture and tradition, sometimes they beckon the children into that particular act. As I rightly stated, we have a culture and tradition where every individual in Africa, as long as you are from certain society, it is your responsibility to become part and parcel of it so that you can operate freely and independently into the society without any harassment. But when you get to these places, they tell you that when you are living here, you become an adult and you need to behave like adult. And they teach them everything that they need to know about life, going to the extent of teaching them how to give birth and whatsoever thing. So let's assume that a teen who is 17, who's 15, 16, 17, or even below 20 years, goes into that particular culture, and that person leaves the society come. What do you expect? They try to experiment these things because that is what you have taught them, and they are expected to practice it, and so they start to experiment it. So the culture that we are here, we are going to teach them moral, but the moral should not be sexually attached. And if ever they are to teach them this culture and tradition, then they should tell them that they should come of age. But they tell them that when you live here, you are an adult. And if you live here as an adult, you are expected to behave like an adult. They are going to teach them good parenting and whatsoever. So it is really, really a huge issue that we must watch at and try to accept it. That is why they are saying it is not illegal for you to initiate your child into any or into any our societal setting. However, you should do it at the age where the child has a consent. And if a child enters into that society around 17 or 18 years, in fact, it is practically impossible for you to even set eyes on a teen who is in Sierra Leone. They are around from 12, 13, 14, 15 upwards, they are sexually active. So if you go and initiate a child below that age, when they come out, they practicalize it. I think our culture and tradition, there is no positive renaissance into it. And the culture and tradition also prevent this parent to discuss anything at home. So it might also be attached to that particular taboo because it is their own culture not for you not to discuss anything that is sexually related before your child. But mind you, that child is copying you directly. You want the child to behave like you. And if you want the child to behave like you, then you should discuss things that they should understand and prevent themselves being involved into it. So I think in Africa, our culture and tradition is taken into high esteem, and we are forgetting that we should parent our children the right way so that they can replicate the society. So it's high time we revisit our culture and tradition, change some certain aspects that are facilitating the high number of teenage pregnancy on the continent.
Thank you so very much. Let me come to you, Seku. What are the impacts? We're talking about how culture play a role, how tradition play a role. Poor parenting is a factor. The teens themselves, they are involved in this. Some of them don't listen to some parents. Some parents are doing a good job, but the teenagers, they want to experience this, in defiance of their parents, advice to them. So we can look at all of the above. But the thing I want to know now is what's the impact on the African child, the teen pregnancy?
Yes. Before I discuss the impact, I would like to discuss a little bit about culture and government. I believe all those factors that are listed there, they are all important. Government also play a role, culture play a role, all these things, all of them are important. So the issue here, you have to look at what role should government play in helping, because is the government doing enough? We have all the gender ministries, they are just there to take money. It's the social organization, are they really working? Are people being held responsible? Is the education done in the proper way? Because these things, we have a lot of slogan in Africa. We have beautiful writings in our document, but no implementation. Okay. With the issue of culture, it's very simple. You have to understand, as a traditional man, I understand the African culture, the rationale in African culture is that the essence of life is to produce life. So that's why you see our parents always talk about grandchildren, I need children, because for us, we understand that the essence of life is to reproduce life. But people don't understand there is another phrase after that. That is, after reproducing life is to protect life and improve the quality of life. So they forget the second part, which is to protect life and improve the quality of life. It's not just to reproduce the life. So the children are not taught the protection of life and improvement of the quality of life. They are only taught how to reproduce life. So we have to understand the traditional institution are schools, and every school have curriculum, and curriculum should be improved. What is our Ministry of Education doing to engage the traditional institution and modernize their own curriculum? Because what you call secret society is actually an educational institution. An educational institution should improve its curriculum according to the modern understanding of life. So we cannot live there in the archaic way of visioning the world and thinking that we are improving the society. We have to bring in modernity in every institution. And modernity doesn't mean copying Europe and copying China. It means using the best idea of your time to challenge, to face the challenges within your society, the best ideas of the time. So that's what we need to put in all the institutions. Now, the impact of teenage pregnancy. Look, the mental health issue. Most of these girls, they are not physically ready to produce children. They are not, economically, they are not ready. Socially, they are not ready. So when you force them to have children, they have a lot of mental health issues associated with it. You just see them passing around, they are laughing, but most of them are actually traumatized. And the mental health issue, you get to know it, how marriages break easily. Some of them, they get married 3, 4, 5 times. Some of them end up even hating, having that kind of disdain for men. So they find it even difficult to settle down anymore. They create this natural hatred of being in a healthy relationship. They see life as an opportunity to grab what you have to grab. It's not really to build a real good home. So there's a lot of mental health issues associated with it, and even physical health as well. And actually, the statistics show you that most of the death among teenagers is due to this teenage pregnancy, because physiologically, some of them are not really ready yet to produce children. And then you force it. At the end of the day, there are health issues. There's a social issue with it, the society. Somebody that has not yet, they don't even have a job. They themselves are not employed. They depend on their parents. Then they reproduce. Then that other child comes to build the empire of poverty, the empire of backwardness. So it's like producing another generation of poor people. And then the cycle continues. The cycle continues. This poor family produce another poor family. And this other poor family produce another poor. So you cannot break the cycle of poverty, because the architect, the teenage pregnancy is an architect of poverty. So it's producing children who are not going to have, good upbringing, who are not going to have the financial support, and they will end up also doing exactly what happened to their mother might likely happen to them. So this is the issue that are happening. That is some of the impact that is having on our society. If you look around, most of these children that have teenage pregnancy, if you do a survey, you find out that the root cause is linked to their own parents. There's a link. And if you can also link it to 3, 4, 5 generations. So this is why the social organization have to come in. Social workers in our countries have to come in and look at this issue. The boys who are also responsible, boys also should have responsibility. There should be consequences for pregnancy. So that is the only way we can be able to address this issue.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. At this time, we will read some comments from our viewers. When we come back, we will be talking solution. How can we end teenage pregnancy in Africa? How can we end this teenage pregnancy in Africa? That is the biggest question. We need to find this solution, because, like I said earlier, this thing is like a pandemic. Sekou couldn't have nailed it. We have people producing another one, poverty empire. That's how he described it. Africa is already poor. Most homes in Africa are already poor. Children producing children when they are not prepared to even help themselves. Let's hear from Save the State Liberia. In Africa, it's usually statutory rape, he called it. And I think he nailed it. Let's hear from Frances Wilson. Lack of education and information is a problem. And Sekou, your statement that developing or underdeveloped countries in Africa simply means poor countries. There are no poor countries in Africa, just mismanaged countries. And I think she has a point, because she's looking at the natural wealth, I like to put it that way, then we are now poor. Save the state again, poverty. I think I read that. Let's hear from Michael, fast thinking Paul. Paul, I want to see how you can think fast. This discussion is so interesting. Now I know you can think fast. Let's hear from Save the Stage. Most of the time, it's not boys impregnating girls, it's grown men. Boys are also impregnating, but I agree with you. Men are also doing that. Hawa Mesga, I am from a Muslim family, and the men who are making these laws are perverse. No child should get married. It's illegal. It's child rights violation, she writes. I hope I got that right. Hawaii again, she said, this law must be amended. That's what we're talking about, even in our poorer and sandy society. Time have changed, circumstances have changed, the world has advanced. Have we advanced these laws, these practices, so that they can be able to serve our community well? The answer might be no. Hawaii again. I went to the rural area of Liberia, 13 years old, are mothers. Some married to grown men as old as 50. This is evil in its this is evil. It's a complete child abuse and a violation on all levels. If a girl is educated, having children, she will never be productive in society. Some of the girls have no choice, no voice. You can be poor and not be violated. That is poor excuse, she said, for people to be violating girls just because they are poor. Let's hear from Florence Collins. Our girls and boys have to our boys and girls have to have protection officers to go for advice from the protection officer. She's getting her and taking it to a whole new level. Let's hear from Hawaii again. The parents are also broken, and most of them were also married as children. This cycle must start by grandmother. I mean, my grandmother was 89 and still talking about her childhood forced into marriage as a child. We said no. Children must be honored as children, have the right to have these access by their leaders, not to be forced beyond their choice. There needs to be there needs to be a law, a national law to protect the children, not on the choice of a parent. Some parents are even violators of their children. Civic education must be, she said. Wow, I think she's right there. Some parents are involved in this. It is troubling. Let's hear from Collie again here. Some of the parents do not speak English. They speak their language. I do not blame the parents. I blame the lawmakers. The parents, she said, cannot be blamed. That is an argument that we can make for another day. However, Western culture is not an excuse or should be blamed. There are many other good culture our children can learn, like respect, cooking, dressing appropriately, education, giving back to their country by serving others. We must have principle. Child protection is a global law. These people who are passing these laws and call it traditional, it's an excuse to prey on children. To say people are hiding behind. Let's hear from Towns, Seattle Townsend, watching from Houston, Texas. Great topic. Can't believe I missed you didn't miss it. You're getting some Jeff. Hey, let's hear from Ambassador S. Jimmy. Hello, folks. I am a parent and I disagree with my sister that it is poor parenting. I think it comes from the kids themselves. Well, anyway, that's his disagreement there. Let's hear from Tevina Co. Excellent and timely topic. Teenage pregnancy destroy the future of our women and children. Let's encourage them to focus on school. I couldn't agree more. Let's hear from Vamandi Donzo. Parents need to educate their children, especially the girls' children. Let's hear from Hawaii again. Great topic, FOL, and the panelists all did excellent job in their delivery. You know, I will have you guys respond 1 minute each to the comments. But let me respond to Jimmy. Jimmy said he's a parent. He's now practicing poor parenting. So that is not true. Jimmy, we're not talking about all parents here. There are parents who are bad at parenting. Even those parents themselves will admit that I'm a bad parent. So I don't know where you're coming from, but that is your view, and we respect that. Let's see this one from Tevina. Did I read it? Teenage pregnancy is a global issue, not unique to only Africa. That is true, Tevina, but this program is Roundtable Africa. Our focus is on Africa. Let's come to you, Elizabeth. You listening to the comments from the viewers, people listening to the discussion. What do you have to say to them, or your reaction to their responses there? In 1 minute, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Viewers and listeners, I want to say thank you very much for following on the program, for the wonderful comments you have brought forward. But I must say, for the person who was like arguing out on the issue of parenting, okay, yes, it's your opinion and I respect, but I am telling you, my brother, in Africa, in an African setting, plenty parents, most of the parents are actually practicing poor parenting, and these things are leading the children into teenage pregnancy and most of the unwanted stuff that is not expected of them. And for those whose comments we are focusing around us encouraging the children to be educated, it's kudos to you, because this is a thing we are to do together. It is not about us. It is not about us here. It is about the whole. Let's come together. Let's put our voices together and fight and see how we can achieve it. It's achievable.
Thank you so very much. Edward, in 1 minute, response to the comments.
Relate to most of the comments that you read. As we all know, teenage pregnancy is something that is global. It's definitely not limited to Africa, but I think we are looking at it from the African perspective and the dire consequences it is having on the continent as a whole. I think what we need to do as parents who are out there, some of them who contribute, it's high time we started educating our children. Somebody made an attempt to blame the children. Yes, you may somehow, because sometimes the victim is blamed, but you cannot blame somebody who's already been victimized. You cannot say, I think it is all about depending on the type of parent that we are coming. You may be a very good parent, that is fantastic. We are watching at the whole number of people. Sometimes poverty even pushes them to do something that they do not want to do. Most of the time, some people are involved into conscious wrongdoing. They really know that this act is wrong. They really know that they're endangering the child, but the value what they will receive out of what the child will get, what the child will return from them. So I think it's high time we focus on the child instead of the immediate benefit.
Sego?
Yeah, I listened to our viewers there. Some of them disagree with us on the factors or the causes of this teenage pregnancy. But as a social worker, for me, I look at societal issues I look at society like an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, the environment affects the organisms, and the organisms also have impact on the environment. Everything in the society are interrelated. If you have a broken economy, you are likely to have health issue, political issue, you are likely to have social issue. If you have poverty in a society, you have broken families. You have people trying to work a way of living. So that also brings about teenage pregnancy. If you have poverty, then the educational system is broken. Institutions are not working. So likely there will be no proper law to protect girls. So all these things are interconnected. That's why we say holistically we have to look at it. Parenting, all these things are all connected to the poverty we are talking about, is connected to poor law, is connected to lack of justice, is connected to the way the entire system works. So we have to look at it holistically. Fix the first problem, which is poverty. Fix the second problem, which is the social organization and the law. Fix it, and then protect girls. So once you have all these things in place, the parenting will fall in place. Even parents are held responsible by government. Sometimes bad parenting, if you live in the advanced world, parents are held responsible for not doing their job. because every institutions are doing their job. So it's easy to put everyone in their own place. But when the institutions are broken, then everybody do what they want to do. So we have to look at it holistically.
Thank you so very much. All right, gentlemen, let's bring Elizabeth back in here. Now, let's talk about solution. We have looked at the problem. We have discussed the factors, responsible for teenage pregnancy in Africa. Now, how can we end this? How can we end this pandemic that is just robbing young people of a destiny, meaning that Africa is at risk. African countries are at risk because the young ones who should be taking over are themselves challenged at the very beginning. It's like they've been set up for to fail and not to succeed. How do we avert that? Let's start with you, Elizabeth. How can we end teenage pregnancy in Africa?
Okay, thank you very much. It will be difficult for us to teenage pregnancy, but definitely we can reduce it. We can reduce it to a point that it will not be of a national concern anymore.
Mhm.
And how we can do this? How do we achieve this? We do more awareness and we do more sensitization. We talk to the teenagers themselves. We get the parents involved. We get the the stakeholders involved. Let them see the impact of teenage pregnancy on our girls, on society. Because the more we are having them being impregnated at that early age, the more poverty level we'll be having. So we get the parents. We talk. We do a hell lot of education. You know, at
Yeah.
national level, we tell them those that are in power, those that are in position, those that are in trusted positions, we tell them this and these and these are what should be done. Help the girls, help them. Like the free quality education,
Mhm.
continue to pour more money, encourage them, let them see a reason to be educated. Let there be room even for the poorest girl to feel like they belong.
And you think the boys as well as the girls should be equally sensitized and educated about the issue of teenage pregnancy so that they all know?
Definitely, Anthony, definitely. Because if we are educating the girls and we are leaving the boys, it's like telling the girls what they are ought to do, leaving the boys who are the perpetrators, if I may call them so.
Mhm.
Because the
Yeah.
girls are not getting, they are not getting themselves pregnant. It
Mhm.
is either men or boys that are getting them pregnant.
Thank you so very much. Because usually the boys, the one who have the sweet talk, some of them they got sweet talk and they can convince the girls. Seku, how do we end this? How do we minimize this? This is
Yeah,
serious.
I agree with our guest. The issue here is all prevention. I mean, we cannot, like corruption, you cannot defeat all these social ills. You can just defeat it. You cannot just eradicate them overnight. But you can minimize it, like our guest said, to a level where it's no longer of national concern. That's accurate. So to do that, all stakeholders have to be involved. First, for me, I would say, let make poverty a crime against humanity. For me, I consider poverty a crime against humanity because you rob people of their dignity. You rob people of their dignity and decency. You destroy society, first of all. Then all other catastrophes begin to follow. That's why poverty must be a crime. Government must see a need to do something about it. Then the second thing, their educational system. It's time these things are taught because it's not just about telling girls, don't get pregnant, boys as well. And there should be consequences. Because in many African countries, I remember when we were in school there, once a girl become pregnant, there is this stigma. The society will stigmatize the girl. She drop out of school. She sit at home. She don't want to be. Then the boy who did the act is going to school. His life is okay. He might even go and graduate, and that girl life is destroyed. And society does nothing. They begin to blame her of being weak, of being some kind of a loose girl. forgetting that she didn't get herself pregnant. So there should be consequences. Laws need to be passed. If you pregnant somebody, you take full responsibility, especially if it is not rape, then the boy have to take care of his child. So if both of them feeling the weight, then you will see that when every action have consequences, people will begin to think twice before they impregnate. Here in the Western world, men are very conscious of pregnating girls, and there's no police after them because you know child support will come. You know the court will come after you. You know you can't escape. But back home, you can even have 3 children. You don't pay a penny. The mothers have to look after these children. So you don't care. You're passing around with your bazooka and you are just causing more trouble. You see? So that have to be, the men have to be held responsible. So that will also reduce social work. I'm a social worker, and I believe social work is something that we overlook back home. Social workers have to be involved. The society have to be connected to the government, and government need to be connected to the society. These girls that are already in this situation, they need to be taken care of. And those that are not yet pregnant, they should be taught contraceptives, how to be protected. These things are important. Here in the West, many girls know how to prevent pregnancy. They know what to take. They know what to do not to get pregnant. So we should not shy away from these things. They should be taught at early age, this is how to prevent pregnancy. They should have the prevention methods put in place, and somehow we can be able to at least bend the curve.
Mr. Edward Amara, how do we minimize? I'm tempted to use the word eradicate because when I look at the potential damage of this particular pandemic, teenage pregnancy in Africa, this is the future of Africa that is at risk, and almost like we are shooting them in the leg at the beginning of the game. How do we minimize that?
Thank you for it. You are saying eradication, that throws me into corruption, because if corruption can be eradicated, then teenage pregnancy is definitely going to be eradicated, because I watch at it like a corrupted moral. Having said that, I think teenage pregnancy is all, as I say, is poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance. I think first what we need to do, as Kelly rightly said, I think we need to improve on contraceptive distribution into Africa. Yesterday, I listened to a news in Zimbabwe when lawyers took in and MPs took in a bill in parliament to allow a girl at the age of 16 to access pregnancy. But the vice president constantly threw out the bill on grounds that as long as the girl is not at the age of 16, is at the age of 16 and she's not legally permitted to have sex, so there is no need for you to encourage them to have access to contraceptive. And that is actually wrong. It's denying the fact that teenagers who are even below 16 years are not having sex. It's high time we encourage those teenagers who are below 16 years to have access to contraceptives. In cases like Zimbabwe, it is not there. They will not allow you to have any contraceptives as long as we are below the age of 18. In Sierra Leone, when you get to this pharmacy or any other drugstore to buy drugs, as long as you went there for contraceptive, nobody will ask you for them to define your age, so you can easily have access to it. I think we need to improve on contraceptives, and those contraceptives should be distributed into schools freely, because most of these school pupils, they are sexually active, and we all know this, realize this, and most of them are the ones that are falling victims. So contraceptive cannot stop a child from having sex, but it can prevent them getting into early marriage and at the same time having unwanted pregnancy. The another one is what we need to approach it holistically. As Sekou rightly said, it's a societal problem. Right? We who are in a society, we are the perpetrators. I think it's high time we do not shy away from it. Those parents who think that talking about sex in home is a taboo should be called to a round table and tell them the necessity why they should discuss sex with their children, especially those who are at that sexually active age. They must understand the negative consequences of involving in themselves into sex without having the full energy to cater or the full capacity to cater for themselves. The need also should be told so. Even the government, I think the government, like Israel and Harvard, they call Hands Off Our Girls. That is a kind of program implemented by the First Lady. It's a very fantastic move. But our laws also need to be very strong in persecuting these people. Because most of the time, the children are actually impregnated by people they know very well. It could be their teacher, a relative, a friend, a neighbor, whatsoever thing. But the law is so weak in punishing these children, the perpetrators. So I think those who are actually were creating this havoc, they should definitely be punished. Some of them can even be sent to life imprisonment. There are certain places in the Arab world, you don't steal there. If in the first hand, it will definitely be taken. Sharia law should also be implemented in those who are actually perpetrating this thing, because it has become so drastic, it is so serious. A lot of parents are losing their children to unwanted pregnancy, disease, and whatsoever thing. Then above all, we should also watch at certain things like this. When you see a society is a kind of setup, and we have religious leaders who will not even encourage anybody discussing such thing like that, I think they should also be approached in churches. Let people let the pastors know that it is their responsibility to even teach sex education in church, like when they call Bible studies. Tell them, because even in the Bible they have their moral aspect. But I think Africa, we are too religious, we are too moral, and we do not touch certain things. And those things are actually forcing children into early marriage and early. Normally, our tradition states here, most of the time, there are certain homes, when you got impregnated by a man, or if a man impregnates you, you will ask that man to go and marry. That should not be a yardstick of marriage. And above all, the government should, like the free education system is running, is another very good one. Because most of the time, poverty is actually responsible for teenage pregnancy. And there are certain children, as long as their parents cannot afford to pay their education or their education fees or their school fees, what they do, they go out to men who will supply them the money that they need. At the end of the day, are going to be involved. So sometimes the government introduction of free quality education and enforcing that most everybody.
Oh, wow. Edward was making a solid point there when he just dropped off. Folks, let me bring in few comments here. Our followers here are contributing, they are participating into the discussion in a meaningful way. I think the next time we will open the phone line. Let's hear from Hawa Menska here. The funding in education alone in Africa tells you where our leaders' priorities are. When you invest more in children, you get more and good results. Telling people not to do it, but don't give them resources is not a solution. We must stop blaming our victims of societal ills, both boys and girls. She right. Let's hear from that's Yoki Musa. Not enough economic activities in African countries, especially my country, Sierra Leone. The patient should not be afforded income to support their children. I think meant to say the parents. Let's hear from Francis Wasing here. Well said, Sekou. Leaders that empty the coffers of their countries and put their ill-gotten gains in offshore accounts are definitely committing crimes against humanity and should be jailed for life, because the number of deaths that results in is definitely murder. You see, she's making a point. If people taking the money, they're not funding the institutions, so people are getting sick, people are dying. They are the one killing indirectly, and that is crime against humanity. Agreeing with Sekou there. Another way to minimize this is through enough recreational activities such as building basketball, court, tennis, volleyball, something that get their minds off risky behavior such as drinking. Hawa comes in, she said, contraceptive with medical counsel. Please add that. Well, you have added that. The girls must know their bodies and the side effect of these contraceptive as well. But yes, contraceptive are more safer than having no protection and having it at all. Famanta here, there should be girls and boys camp where they are taught about HIV, how to correctly use the condom, etc. And how I agree with Edward Guipran, Edward implementation and more implementation. Sekou hit some great points on leaders engaging with society. Sister Elizabeth did great on the education part too of the parents' conversation with children. This, I think we close the discussion. We can ask for more substantive discussion so far. Let's come to says Elizabeth. 1 minute for your closing statement. I think our viewer love this. We have to do it again, maybe. Elizabeth, what do you have to close us? Your parting statement, please.
out there. Thank you so much. You've all contributed so well. And my last word before leaving would be on the use of contraceptive. It's a thing we need to really put some seriousness on, because sometimes if I am a child and I walk up to a chemist or I walk up to a health center in pursuant of contraceptive, they may look at me a different way. Either I am a prostitute or some sort of it. And it is better we prevent our children than we let them be having children as children.
Thank you so very much. That was the voice of our guest, Elizabeth Bansakane, and she joined us from Freetown, Sierra Leone. Elizabeth, we want to say thank you for joining us here at Roundtable Africa. We will not hesitate to reach out to you. Excellent contribution to today's discussion. I think our viewers are loving your contribution. Edward?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that in the first place, I want to wave people from the mentality of thinking that it is only boys that are impregnating these girls. Old men, ageable men are also doing this thing. So let us say men. So we can use that word men to be perfect. And secondly, I think our parents also need to be absolutely responsible. I know that dressing, sometimes when they dress, when these children dress recklessly, they expose themselves to men who are sexually hungry. Tell them when they reach at the age of consent, they can dress any way they want to dress when they have the capability of protecting themselves. But as long as they can't protect themselves, you should protect them when they are about to leave home. Their dressing should be of moral standard so that another man cannot easily use them as a prey. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Seko?
Yeah, so thanks to our viewers and thanks to our guests that came here today. We had a fruitful discussion. So all these things we are talking about is about modernizing Africa. Last week we discussed it. And modernization is not just about infrastructures and all these things. It's the human being. We have to fix the human being that will use the infrastructure. So the teenage pregnancy issue is destroying our society. We will not produce a better generation if we don't fix it. So holistically, government, NGOs, everybody have to be involved. And we need to protect these girls. We need to protect these women if we want a better society tomorrow. And I believe the civil society have to be involved. It's not every day we are making demonstrations for politics, political things and all that. We have to look at this very key issue here and make sure the laws are passed to protect these girls, and NGOs should be involved distributing contraceptives and make sure that the proper education is received to protect these children.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Sekou Keller is the host of this program, Roundtable Africa. Anson is here, always here, trying to follow the conversation. This is how we will come to the end of yet another exciting and informative discussion here at Roundtable Africa, brought to you by Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. To you, our viewers, you know we do not end any of our broadcasts with a nationalistic song for our country, Liberia, that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you are a poor parent or you're not good at parenting, you are still a Liberian, but you need to do better. I need to do better. We all need to do better. We all need to get involved. Have a good day. We catch you next Wednesday. Bye bye, folks.
We are Liberians.